sun is hidden far from here. I wonder how I might atone. It's been a year since I left home. The wind is blowing faster now. I'm searching though I don't know how. There was a time I used to know. I lost my bearings long ago. And all this time, well, it's my imagination, my fading inspiration that dances in my mind, and it's a crime. Only my imagination, my own interpretation should lead me down this road, and I know where to go. To find my travels as you
To find those travels as you can, as the song says. What's going on, everybody?
believe I'm not your
Welcome, Goglings, Gogliks, Gogrifics, Gogliks, Gog Peoples, Gog Peoples of the world unite. What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 301. We have started our second 300 episodes of Pen and Pixels. I am your host, Arvin Elleron. This is the show that we do every Tuesday from 4 to 7 p.m. Eastern, focusing on story and narrative in games. And we've got a very special episode today, which I am very excited to talk about. But before I get there, just a couple of reminders about ways to support us here on GogCom's Twitch channel. If you haven't already done so, please consider following us here on the channel. That is always appreciated. Please, if you haven't already done so, consider subscribing to us here on GogCom, because you can get those awesome custom sub badges and emotes to use here, there, and everywhere across Twitch. So that's definitely worth it, and also supports us as streamers. And if you haven't already done so, please consider clicking through and checking out our individual channels, because we have our own subsystems and Patreons and all that kind of good stuff as we continue to move along in this world that we call the world here of Twitch. We have got other stuff going on. I'm actually going to be closing up shop, I think, today. The next person that you're going to see is going to be Lore Witchy, who's going to be coming at you with a game called Eastward. But that is a game that we have got for tomorrow. Today, we have something extremely exciting. So before I get there, let me just turn on that. What's going on, everyone? I hope everyone is doing well. Hello, and let me fire up some Twitch chat there. There we go. So welcome, everyone, and it is a great honor, actually, to be able to have what we've got going on for you today about Solasta Crown of the Magister. Now, those of you who have been watching the channel for a while and watching the show for a while know that I have been focusing on Solasta for some time in the video game department over here, when not running Talisman Adventures or running Ghosts of Saltmarsh for the intrepid D&D with GOG crew. I've been over here doing video game stuff, especially with Solasta. And we had an opportunity in the last couple of weeks to set up a chance to chat to some of the people who made this possible. And I am very, very honored to be able to have them on board now. And so I have unmuted myself so that he knows that we're ready to go. And then I'm going to unmute the Zoom call. And last but certainly not least, I'm going to bring on, there we go. And it is my great pleasure to introduce all of you to Emile Zhang, who is the community lead at Tactical Adventures, which is responsible for the awesome Solasta game, which I have been raving about with all of you nonstop over the last month and a half, 2 months or so. So first of all, Emile, welcome. Thank you for joining us on GogCom. And yeah, first of all, how are you? Thank you for being with us, and how are things with you?
Oh, hello there. Thank you, Greg, for having me here. I'm doing perfectly fine. In fact, I just ate dinner with a friend, had some wonderful ramen, and now I'm here.
And now
ready
you're
to,
here.
Yeah.
Awesome, and ready for the stream. So, so I want to start by, I guess, just with a sort of general question for you about you specifically, which is, I'm curious about what kind of brought you to Tactical Adventures. And then secondly, I want to talk a little bit about the genesis of Solasta before we dive a bit further in. And chat, in case you're curious, the way this is going to work is I will chat a little bit with Emile first, then I'm going to move over to the game itself, and we will chat some more while I'm playing, and then we'll have a chance to have chat ask some questions as well. So be thinking of some respectful, please, questions to ask Emile a little bit later on. So yeah, let me start with you, Emile. How can you talk a little bit about your own path to Tactical Adventures and how you got involved with this company and then the game of Solasta?
Sure. So I used to be working at Ubisoft on the infamous, unfortunately, Ghost Recon Breakpoint that came out. That wasn't really, well, it had its issues. Let's say I'm not gonna spit on it either because I still worked on it. But the thing is, like, I was looking around, and actually a good friend of mine was talking back then because like he was like we've been like in contact since college, and we've done a lot of things together in college. And he just started this job at Tactical Adventures, and he was talking about. Oops, sorry, my cat is trying to enter from the balcony, so I'm just gonna open the door a little bit because it's cold out there. So I was saying, yeah, this friend of mine actually talked to me a lot about this company because it was about a project on D&D, and I was like, I'm very into D&D. Like I've been DMing since 3.5, like 10 to 15 years ago or something.
Good stuff.
And yeah, he was like, he was talking about the project and was like, wow, that's really cool, But at that point, I wasn't really considering joining because it's like a small company, all that, It's one of those companies that there's probably no opening. And at some point, he asked me, he was like, jokingly saying, because I was saying, oh, that sounds like a super great company, and at some point he jokingly said, oh well, actually they're looking for a community manager. And back then I was kind of like, yeah, I'm doing producing right now. Community manager is usually kind of like this job where it's one of those jobs where you usually don't get very far, unfortunately. And that's one of the reality of like video game development. It's like there's some jobs where it's kind of like hard to get further in. But
Yeah.
at that time also, I wasn't really happy at the Ubisoft. Like I said, the project wasn't really great. There was some issues, so I was like, you know what, I'll just talk to these guys and see, right? It's like, what was the worst that can happen? Like, I'll just at least get my foot on the door, talk to those guys. And it turns out it was really interesting. Like, the game was interesting. The guys were really cool. And when they came back to me and they were like, yeah, you can join us and we can have you on board. We thought we would take like a small community manager from like, just out of school, not too expensive. And then they were like, but with your experience, we could just take you as a community lead and you could just do more things. And I was like, yeah, sure. All right. Then in that case, I'm in. And so I actually went in. I never did community management before officially. I always worked a lot with the community. As when I was doing at REI Games, I was doing producing, and I often spent a lot of time talking to the players because we didn't really have community managers back then. So
Yeah.
so I ended up doing that myself. And I also back then I was also very, very deep into Dota 2. I do I did shoutcasting. I was looking for sponsors back in like Southeast Asia. So I was like already quite deep with like the community management stuff. So it kind of went naturally. And at Tactical Adventures, it was like really great because small company means you get to do a lot of things. So I wasn't just doing one thing. I was like doing tons of stuff. Like we would like prepare for different events back when COVID was not a thing. Like, you would
Yeah.
have to like, schedule like different events. Like, okay, how much does it cost? Does it fit the budget? Who are we gonna like meet? What are we gonna do? What kind of presentation we're gonna have to do? Should we have a demo? Not, and the first time that really Solasta was shown to like, actual players was during Gen Con 2019, I think, if I remember correctly of the date. And was really great. We were very nervous because before that, the game was never shown externally outside just like investors or people like that. And so like people got to start playing, and we actually got at some point like a very, very long queue, and like we even have staff asking us to try to break the queue because it was kind of blocking the passage. And at some
that
point, we
which
like,
happens quite a bit at Gen. I mean, I'm a member of the
yeah.
Writers Symposium there, so I'm always at Gen Con, and yeah, those lines can be crazy if you have a popular game, which it sounded like you did. So
Yeah, we were actually very unsure at first because we were like, Gen Con is very much about tabletop, right?
right,
And we kind of felt like we were kind of intruding because we were like, yeah, I mean, it's a D&D video game, but it's still a video game. Are people going to be interested in that? So we came in, we had like 3 computers, and though actually, yeah, it was 3 computers, so it was like almost nothing, right? Because like you see like those booths usually in like video game conventions where there's like 10 PCs where people can play, and we had 3. Like we had 3, including like like it was small laptops and all, and it got so popular that like I remember one morning we came in, we came around like we always come around like 9 or something, and there were already like 3 people waiting next to the stand, and we're like, what are you doing here? And they're like, yeah, we're just waiting for the stand to be set up because we couldn't play yesterday. They're like, oh well. At this point, we're kind of like, yeah, we got people really interested. That's really cool.
yep. Well, that's
So yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
no, please. But I think that thing about the Gen Con story is instructive because it's indicative of the fact that you did from the beginning, all of you sort of conceived of this as not a tabletop simulator, but having a lot of sort of close connections rather than running away from the tabletop game, I guess I would say. You sort of dove into the possibilities of it, which is I've also played and interviewed played BattleTech and interviewed Mitch Gittleman and the folks from Harebrained Schemes, and I've done that game on this channel in this show. And they've had similar sort of comments about what it's like at Gen Con, video game, but because it's so tabletop driven because of BattleTech's history, it became more popular. So it sounds like, is it fair to say that you and the Tactical Adventures folks kind of dove into embracing the tabletop community and appealing to them as much as the video game community for something like this?
Yeah, actually, the thing is like, you have to understand the Tactical Adventures is like a small team, and most of the people that were hired are people we know. So like I said, for me, it was a friend that is like actually the lead programmer that actually brought me in. The lead programmer, so my friend actually was following the art director that he knew from another company before, and it's like kind of like this long string of people we know because it's like, hey, actually, you play D&D, right? You play tabletop, and you're like, yeah, and he's playing also like he's also like doing video game development and all that, and we ended up having like a small team of like experts where almost all of us play tabletop games.
Yeah.
Like my friend is very deep into Call of Cthulhu, and we're doing like Forbidden Lands campaign right now.
Yep.
I'm DMing, I'm still DMing 5e right now. We're doing like a Waterdeep, like the Waterdeep Haste, I think the name was, the campaign. I'm also playing like the Curse of Strahd with another group.
Yep.
So like everyone's playing a lot of D&D, right? Like and Mathieu, the the CEO, the creative director, he started D&D since like the first edition or something. So he's like
Me
very
too.
very old in that.
I know the feeling.
So yeah, just talking about like the tabletop community, it has always been the target. We've always been like kind of like trying to overlap the video game community and the tabletop
Sure,
community, but
sure.
the biggest thing that was going to be the case was we want a faithful adaptation of 5e. Why? Because we've seen a lot of games so far, and none of them. So back then, Baldur's Gate 3 wasn't announced yet, so
Right.
we're not trying to throw shades at them or anything. Because back then, the only D&D 5e game that we knew of was Sword Coast Adventures, and we all know how that went. So
Yeah.
we're kind of like, well, there's good adaptation of like the 3rd edition. Like I remember there's like Temple of Element Evil, for all its bugs, had like a lot of good rules.
Yes.
He was using Gold Root Cell, and there was a lot of mods fixing a lot of things, so it was all great. And then we're like, okay, so let's do that with 5e, because 5e actually has been simplified, and in terms of video games, it's actually it's actually quite well adapted. So we decided to say, hey, you know what? Let's do this. And the thing is, like you said, when we came to Gen Con, the first thing we were afraid of is just how much of the tabletop gamers and video gamers kind of like overlap.
Right,
and we were
right.
happy to see that there were quite a lot in the end. So
Right.
so yeah, that's how basically we ended up with like the tabletop thing. When you talk about the genesis, if I can go into a little bit
Yeah,
more
please.
detail, This like it basically was first of all. So we have to go back to the creative director Mathieu Girard. Mathieu Girard, who is the creative director, he used to be a co-founder of Amplitude Studios. You know, the guys that make Endless Space, Endless Legend,
Yep,
now Humankind, and all that kind of thing. So
absolutely.
it's 4X, nothing to do with D&D, right? And Mathieu has always been playing D&D, and he's always had this idea that at some point in his life he wants to do RPG. Like, you know, he's been making he's been working before on other games like Ruse, so it's like strategy games. Then he went on the 4X things, and he was like, yeah, I kind of want to make an RPG. So he left Amplitude Studio and he made Tactical Adventures. So his dream was to make that game. In the first case, he always wanted. So he made a prototype, as you know, as the tradition goes, in his garage.
Of course, has to be.
And he went around showing the prototype to people. So he was like, hey, you know, it's like, I want to do this. Look, like he used like, you know, stock photos and like, you know, very basic models that were like free on Unity and all that kind of thing. It was just to make things work, right? So he showed it to a lot of people, including me. When I got hired, it was like, you know, I'm going to show you the game, and basically it was just like a combat scenario where you had like a bridge that would fall on skeletons who are below you. You could attack from above, and you know, all that kind of thing. And so that was basically his aim all along, was to make a 5e game, right, with the 5e rule set. So that is basically what started the machine. And then we went on to actually make a vertical slice for the Kickstarter demo,
Right,
and that's basically what we showed at the Gen Con convention.
right.
Sorry, Gen Con, just because con is already convention. So at Gen Con we showed that, and then we went on the Kickstarter and we actually had this demo free to everyone so they could try around, and it actually went on pretty well. People were very happy about, like, you know, having the 5e rule set, and it was kind of faithful. Like, there were, of course, there were some mistakes and some bugs, but you know, we slowly went on to fixing them, et cetera, et cetera.
So and that so I it's very interesting to me because what the time frame that you're talking about is also a time frame during which there is a, you know, the sort of renaissance of RPGs, CRPGs anyway, has been going on for a while now, you know, 4 to 5 years, where there's been a real pickup in general in that kind of even isometric sort of role-playing game. But it's interesting that a lot of what you're describing, as a couple of people mentioned in chat, are things that reminded them of talking to Owlcat about the Pathfinder games or things like that. And I'm curious, as your game was coming out, obviously you're all head down working on developing your own game, but to what degree do you think you were taking note of games like, you know, Baldur's Gate 3 was announced after that, and then they started to release stuff in early access. Obviously, Owlcat with the Pathfinder games. Did any of that sort of cross everyone's notice at Tactical? Did anything get noticed in terms of, like, this is an interesting thing that we maybe could modify for the use of our game, or this is kind of cool but not the direction we want to go? I'm wondering if there was any. I'm always curious about conversations between developers, even if they're not actually talking to each other, just the sort of implied sort of conversation of the games speaking to each other. And I'm wondering if there was any of that in the Tactical studios, sort of looking at other games of this type at the same time.
Well, that much is kind of obvious. You have to remember that, like I said, we're, like, you know, tabletop players, but we're also video game players. We
Right.
love RPGs, and Mathieu, like, had a lot of reference to the gold box, and I was talking a lot about Temple of Elemental Evil, all that kind of thing. So of course, when we had, like, Baldur's Gate 3 announced, when we had Pathfinder, like, I mean, Pathfinder Kingmaker, I played 150 hours. Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous, Path of the Righteous?
Wrath of the Righteous, yeah. That's right.
Wrath of the Righteous,
Yeah.
yeah. So, like, this one, I played 120 hours. I finished it. So, like, you know, those games, like, at least one of us in the company will always find happiness in them, right?
Right.
So we have a lot of, like, we know a lot of, you know, competitors playing competitors games, and on top of that, you know, they're very, very friendly. Like, we're on very friendly term with it. Both, I think it was like, so Allcat actually backed our Kickstarter, Larian Studio backed our Kickstarter, and we even had, like, crap, I kind of forgot, the guys who made a Pill of Eternity.
Obsidian.
Obsidian also backed
Yeah.
up Kickstarter, so it was like it's really really nice to see that it's kind of like a I'm that's kind of cliche to say a big family because that's not really the case, right? We don't talk to them on a daily basis or anything, but it's good to see that competitors kind of like support each other,
Yeah.
and that's what you're saying, like this renaissance of like the CRPG. It's like we're part of it as well. Like there's a lot of like also smaller CRPGs that are coming up. I'm thinking about like we had discussion with like Vagris. We had discussion with
Yep.
at some point. I think we were looking at I think CDEC or something. There were quite a lot of games back then on Kickstarter, so we kind of like crossed over and all that kind of thing. And to answer your question, yes, we do look at the competition, like the games. I'm actually the one doing like the presentation for competitors. So what we do usually is like, for example, so we're not so much adjusting our design because usually like we have to make our own design, right?
Of course.
Like
Of course.
we're not about like just we're just gonna ape that.
Right. Of course.
But what we do before that is very often we'll take a look at the market and we're like, okay, so how do RPGs these days handle the dying system, right? It's like, do we want, because at some point there was a lot of discussion internally about should we allow people to re-roll, like if someone dies, do we just take a new character, let them make a new character, what does it apply, and for us, for example, we ended up not doing that because it completely ruined the narration. Like you would have a party of 4 people and suddenly after 10 hours of gameplay there's one that dies, another comes in, get and replace the other, and suddenly they're all like old friends.
Yeah,
like
hanging
this
out with
new
each
guy
other
who just
forever.
joined in.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly, he knows everything the dead guy knows. So
Right.
it's like it's kind of weird, right?
Right.
So in kind of like games like XCOM where you don't play the guys but you play the commander, it makes sense because the commander still has all the information, the commander
Sure.
doesn't die. But in this game we're playing this group, right? So it's the story of those 4 people, not the story of the 4 people that where 2 may die and be replaced or something.
Right.
So when that kind of thing happens, when we ask those kind of questions, we kind of look around and we are like, okay, so how do other games handle the death system? And for example, in in that instance, we realized that a lot of games just don't really care because what happened is a lot of people will just reload. Like majority of people will just reload when they die. They are not gonna go through looking for a cleric to revive their character because it takes too long, it's too annoying. So you can just reload, but you can't also just ignore that because there are people who are going to play like either the Iron Man mode or who just don't want to reload. They're like, I finished this fight, I tried 5 times, there's this one time I managed to finish it, there's one guy dead, it's okay, I don't want to deal with the combat anymore, right? So you still need to have like, okay, so do we allow for clerics to revive them? Do we have like free resurrection scrolls? Do we like, how do other games do that? Because it's also very annoying, right? It's like you don't want to have like a dead character that just blocks the game. What about the cutscenes? Because we have cutscenes. So like if one guy is dead, does he just not appear in the cutscene?
Just have a dead body the entire time next to you while there's a conversation.
you can laugh about it, but in early access, we had this issue where because every character had like lines of dialogue, it ended up so that if there's 2 dead characters, you would have 2 characters speaking their lines and then silence for quite some time because the 2 dead characters are not speaking and all that kind of thing. So at the end of the day, what we have right now is like especially story cutscene where it's like suddenly the guy stands up, he talks like everything is fine, and then he falls down again dead when the cutscene ends. But we had to do some sacrifice because otherwise, like some story cutscene just didn't trigger, and we couldn't just block the cutscene until he's revived because that would be really tedious. Like you're at the end of the dungeon, but the story cutscene doesn't progress, so you can't finish the quest. So you need to go back to the town, res your guy, come back here, and then get the cutscene, and then just go back again to the town. It's like super tedious.
Yeah.
So yeah, we did that for a lot of things. We did that for like death system. We did that for like how the town looks. Like how many merchants there are. We did that for like also mobility, verticality, lighting system. There's plenty of things. Like when Wrath of the Righteous actually came out, and I went on to present like after I played through 120 hours. Of course, not on work time because I would have loved to play during the office hours, but nope, that's on my spare time. So I did a presentation of like all the different acts, all the ideas they'd had, like all the system they had. But of course, we have to remember that at that point, it's already too late, right? Like the game is already well underway, and the most changes we can make is usually at the beginning when we're deciding about the design. So it's like we know we are going to need a design for stealth, for example. How does stealth work in other games? And we take a look at that time about the games that we have at hand, and there's a lot of things like that. So we took a look, like if you were wondering what games we looked at, there's all the Pathfinder Kingmaker, the Divinity 1 and 2. We took a look also at of course, the Pillars of Eternity. We took a look at Mutant Year Zero, like some Shadowrun games, some smaller, like also like some indie games that are not too much RPG, but that could actually fit a little bit the idea sometimes, like Darkest Dungeons.
Sure.
And there's like plenty of small games like that, and so I can't list them all because of course there's like a lot of them. At some point we even took a look at like Fire Emblem, because it's like technically it's a tactical
Oh, very
RPG
cool.
as well, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So like there's a lot of game out there, and there's a lot of inspiration we could get from different games. So yeah, it's actually a very good thing to take a look at others to make sure that we're not doing the same mistakes sometimes, or actually we see, because like since I'm community lead, I also take a look at how the community reacts to some features.
Right.
So it's like their design is like that. How do people react? Like, are they not saying anything? Because usually if they're not saying anything, it's a good sign, right? It's like, oh, they're finding it well, right? Because if they're criticizing it, sometimes there's some things where like people are saying this is so tedious. Like I understand why they did that, but it's just theoretically it works. In practicality, it's just so annoying to do.
Yeah, that's interesting, and it's let me just reset quickly. So we are speaking to Emile Zhang, who's the community lead, excuse me, from Tactical Adventures, which makes Solasta Crown of the Magister. And after one more question, I'm going to jump over to the game, and then we will continue our conversation there. And chat, in a little while, we will open up questions for chat to ask a few. Emile has been kind enough to agree to be with us until for about another half hour or so, at which point he'll be on his way. But if you are curious and you have some questions, I noticed a couple were sort of thrown up here. One of them, Commander Dunsel in chat, was saying, as a backer of Solasta, I'm pretty happy with how you folks developed this game. Kudos. Now do better with a Shadowrun license. That's because Commander Dunsel is a huge Shadowrun fan. So anything that involves doing Shadowrun is good stuff, including the turn-based stuff. So, and Theophos practically answered all the questions, 10 out of 10. Yeah, absolutely. It's been great. So let me ask you this as one more, and then we'll jump into the game a little bit, and I can ask you some game-specific ones. And you actually pointed me towards it with your last answer, and that's the community side of things. So obviously, a game which is very focused, a company needs to be focused in part on what its community is doing and playing the game, both because if you have a small company, you don't have like a horde of play testers that can figure out absolutely everything, and also because, you want some kind of feedback to be able to get a sense of how things are going. My question is, and I've asked this to many companies, how much do you take on board commentary from members of the community, and what sorts of things do you find that you really appreciate? Like, this is stuff that was really helpful, and what kinds of things do you end up saying, this is stuff which we really can't use in our own development process? I guess I'm curious about how you pick and choose among the more useful community feedback and maybe the not as useful because it just isn't something you're able to implement. I'm wondering how you do that.
So we're kind of like, so it's kind of a blessing in disguise, right? The fact that we're an indie company means that we don't have like billions of people shouting it in our ears.
Okay.
So there's also that we can take it, like, because like people are gonna ask, well, why don't like bigger companies take into account the community feedback? And usually bigger companies have to deal with like having so many voices just going around. It's kind of hard to like take care of. For us, we have like a few medium where we take a look. We have like our Discord server, we have our Steam forums, we have our own forums. Lately, Reddit has also been getting more and more active.
Okay.
Usually, people don't give too many feedback on like Twitter or Facebook unless it's like broken. They're just gonna yell, but that's something else, right? That's just bug fixing.
Yeah.
But yeah, people get very passionate when it comes to tabletop rules. Because people who tend to buy Solasta are all D&D fans. Let's be honest. Like, there's a lot of D&D fans. And when it comes to D&D, you all know that rules are a big point. And sometimes people are like, yeah, you didn't implement that well, or yeah, this rule, I know it's a rule, but we all homebrew it because it's kind of stupid.
Yeah, somebody asked
One
me
of
about
the
Flame Strike, about like if you could ask them about Flame Strike and why you can't target people with Flame Strike or whatever.
Yeah,
So yeah.
and so you actually can target people with flame strike, but I think it's like a two-step or something. I think flame strike is more like it's very short range or something, and people tend to forget that. It's like I don't remember. I have to take a look because
Yeah,
maybe I'm
I have
saying
not run into that myself yet, but so
yeah.
yeah.
But in any case, just like saying one of the example of homebrew thing that people can ask is like, oh, but why don't you do potions on a bonus action instead of an action? Because like everyone homebrews that, and the thing that we're left with is often like it's like yeah, but at some point we need to stick to the SRD rules because of the fact that the moment where we start homebrewing stuff is the moment where we don't have like the kind of the moral high ground of saying we're just implementing the rule set, right?
Ah,
It's like we're thinking that this is better because for some reason we think it's better, right? It's like and everyone has their own opinion, so we want to stay faithful to the rule set, and then as best as we can, because like something we have to homebrew, like I think stealth, because the fact that stealth, like we're still talking about the game that's like turn based, and stealth in combat, there's not a lot of rules if you look at the PHP about like exactly what, like when can you stealth in combat or
right.
when you can't, and how does it work, like when do you do your perception check, do you do before the attacks, do after the so it's actually pretty complex on that, and so we need to do like some adjustment for video games because of that. But for most of the other things we want to stick to the SRD. Now the question is also, like you said, how do we know what we have to listen to and what we have to set apart? First of all, one of the things that I do is always that I tend to gather the feedback and also take a look. And that's actually fairly subjective. And that's something you have to keep in mind, because when it comes to community work, you can't just put the numbers and say there's like 2 posts about this, 1 post about that. So the one with 2 posts is more important, because it doesn't really work that way. Like there's sometimes just one guy spamming the forum with like 10 times the same topic, and those kind of things happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's people who are very vocal and people who are less. But the job is also to try to understand what is frustrating behind, why they are frustrated, like why are they posting what they're posting. Is it a problem because the user experience is affected by something that makes it tedious? In that case, people love to propose solutions, and very often the solutions are very short-sighted because, well, they're not game developers, so they can't necessarily know what impact it has on like everything else behind,
Right.
because
Right.
that's not what we're asking of them. So we can't just take the feedback and say, "Oh, right, we'll implement that." Sometimes it happens. Like sometimes there's like very good solution, and we're like, "Oh, cool, yeah, that makes sense." But most of the time, it's not about the solution; it's about the problem that the person has. And very often, people are not, very much talking about the problem. They're just giving a solution. So the harder part is to try to understand what the problem is that makes the person propose such a solution. And when we have this list of problems, I go to the rest of the team and say, here are the major grievances of the community. It could be like plenty of things. Like, for example, it's like people are really frustrated about the RNG, and it's a part of D&D. What do we do? So what we do about that is we added a difficulty setting to say, hey, we're adding like karmic dice. Karmic dice means the more you fail and the more chance you have of actually rolling a better roll. And that's cheating, but it's like I see that some people are really struggling with it, and we don't want to force people to have good rolls, but at least let's add an option for people who really don't enjoy the getting shafted by dice. We all know that can happen, right?
Yeah, sure.
Some other things that we ended up changing is we used to have a homebrewed system for lighting. But why that? Because lighting was a huge part of Solasta, and we had a lot of places where we had to fight in the dark, and we felt like it was kind of getting negated by dark vision. Like like everyone has, like, you just do dark vision, you don't need to use the lighting system anymore. And the problem with that is not only it would kind of lower the challenge, but that is not the biggest problem. The biggest problem is also the visuals, and that's actually pretty weird, right? You're thinking about gameplay, and suddenly I'm talking about graphics. And it's actually very important because Solasta is very dark. Like there's a very like
I've
I'm
noticed.
talking about it's like you need to light up torches because otherwise it looks like crap.
Yeah.
And that's the point was to say, guys, just play with torches, right? There's like dynamic lighting. It's going to impact both the visual and the gameplay. So the torch is not just here for show. Like use the torch, otherwise you won't see anything as a player, and your characters also will miss all the time because of disadvantage.
Right.
But there was a lot of people complaining about this because you go into the game, everything else is faithful to the SRD. You get to dark vision, and suddenly you have this dwarf who has disadvantage in darkness, and you're like, "What the hell?
So you've
That
lost
doesn't make sense."
you've lost your moral high ground, is what you're telling
Exactly.
me. Right. Yeah.
Going back to what I was saying before, this was one thing where we tried to fight about on it, and at first we were like, yeah, we really think that it brings an extra layer of interest to the lighting system. But at the end of the day, it's also one of the things where that's one thing that happens sometimes where the community starts to basically say that you kind of lost your touch with them, like you kind of like you as a developer are telling them how to have fun, and that's some time where you kind of lost them because a game should be fun for the player, and if you have to tell them how they should have fun, then that's already a problem.
Yeah.
So we didn't want that to be like the game needs to be like this, and you have to suck it up, right? Because everything else is SRD. So why is that not SRD? Is there like a good enough reason? No, the reason was that we thought it was cooler, but obviously, community wasn't necessarily like. There are people who liked it, but not everyone liked it. So we had to make the decision: do we want to stick with it and potentially have to fight to explain all the time about why it's like that, or do we just give in and say, you know what, it's more consistent to have everything SRD, including the lighting, and too bad, it happens. People will have like dark vision teams, and that's what we did in the end.
So let me ask. I lied. One
Yeah.
more follow up question before we get into the game
Sure.
itself, which is, as you were in the process of figuring this out, I really am struck by this idea about that it really is dependent on sort of the overall player reaction, and it means there are times where you have to kind of give in a little bit and sort of allow things to be there for the player. It strikes me that there's a push and pull there between what the developer's vision is, right, for the game.
Mhm.
I'm thinking about the Souls games, right, where those are games that I eventually am just like, this is just not a game I'm ever going to I cannot stand a game where I never feel like I'm making progress, where I have to run through everything. Doing things over and over and over and over again is the opposite of fun to me. But there are certainly many people for whom that's their fun experience. And the Souls developers, a lot of them said that they were like, this is the game, and if you don't like it, you're going to go elsewhere. And so it strikes me that there's a bit of a tension there between that idea and between what you're suggesting, which is not that you just do everything by majority vote. I mean, obviously it's your game, it's Tactical's game, but it sounds to me like there are times, I guess, where you've got to, as you say, give a little bit of what you had planned to do for the benefit of the player's enjoyment, but I guess not too much, because at a certain point it becomes not your game. So I guess, is that the art of figuring out how to manage this, is knowing how much to give without making it not your game anymore? Is that a good way to look at it?
So there's already one difference with, for example, Soul games, is that Solasta had both Kickstarter and early access.
Okay, right.
And when you bring your community so early in development, you need to kind of like also listen to them, right? Because if we had like Solasta and we just made it on our own and then we released it, and at that point it's like the game is out, right? It's the developer's vision. We announced the game and we then just published the game, like we released the game and people play the game as it is. This is much different than a game that has to go through both Kickstarter campaign and through a early access period.
Okay, right.
Because people are not going to just start playing early access and then accept just whatever you give them. They are going to say early access is made for feedback time, right? It's like, if we can't give feedback during early access, if the devs are not taking any feedback into account, what's the point of early access?
Right.
Do they just need cash earlier? And that could be the case, right? But there is now a expectation that was created around the early access program, and that's a good thing, right? It's like people who go into early access games, they know that early access means, and developers also need to know that, and most of them do, is like if I put my game in early access, I make the concession that I will need to listen to the players. I cannot just put my game in early access and just ignore everything that's going on.
Right.
Otherwise, it's just releasing a game, right? You release the game and then you patch it or something. That's different. So in our case, there's always something that we said that is very important is we're making the game with the players, but the players are not making the game for us. That's the biggest difference.
Okay.
So we have a vision. We have to stick to it because I mean it's so I don't know about the English expression, but in French we say I think it's something about too many cooks in the kitchen, right? That's in English, right?
Right.
So
Too many cooks spoil the broth is the
exactly.
term, yeah.
So it's exactly like that, right? So even within a team of 17 people, we're not everyone just in the same meeting room and just like voting on every feature or decision
Sure.
because that's chaos. And we have to have our different areas of responsibilities. Like, we have the gameplay director making the final call on gameplay decisions. We have the lead programmers telling you if it's possible or not to do it because it's like just takes too much time to actually have it in the final game. So and we have also like our producer who just have to come in and say, hey, it doesn't fit the budget, it doesn't fit the schedule. If we actually want to release the game on May 2021, well, we have to cut some things. Like, you have all those features you really want. Well, we have to choose one because everything, we can't just put everything in. It's just not going to work. So all of this comes down to it's a very, very tight ship, right? Like I see in the chat, someone's talking about scope creep. Exactly, like feature creep is very much a dangerous risk. You end up saying, I want this, I want that, and then you look at the players. Oh, the players have a cool idea, they would love to have this, and we're like, can we put it in? Can we do that? Can we? And sometimes, especially in companies where there isn't really project manager, or in some companies the project managers don't have a lot of power because like the creative director can just overturn whatever they say.
Yeah.
And then so that he starts putting in more stuff. And it's not just selfishly, right? It's like because it would be cool, like the players would love it. It just doesn't fit in. So that's also why and that's actually something that people complain about nowadays. It's like that's why we said at the start we would only have 6 classes plus the sorcerer free coming up, and now we release a DLC with 2 new classes.
Yep.
And some people are saying, how come you're making us pay core classes, right? It should be free. And we're like, because the base game never promised those 2 extra classes. We were cleared from 2 years ago. From 2 years ago, we knew we wouldn't be able to have all the different D&D classes.
Right.
It's just it's not feasible with our size and with our budget. So the base game, we always promised would have those 7 free classes, and everything else after that is DLC because we need to continue making money to actually get the company running, right?
Right.
So we have to go back also to how do we actually take into account community feedback. And that was also kind of a big deal because it's actually kind of hard to have your schedule really tight, running your tight ship, like I said, especially the producer. Like I had a lot of discussion with the producer who, I bless her heart because she's doing a fantastic job trying to basically stack all the different like Tetris pieces so that everything doesn't fall into shit, right? And then I come in and I'm like, guys, the players are complaining about this and that and this, and we should really do something about it. And she's like, there's no room. Like, what are we gonna do? And then well, she does all the Tetris again. She just takes all the pieces and she just stacks them again. And then maybe that one wonky pieces that was kind of cool, but we didn't really need, we just take away. And it's always a give and take, right? So at some point, for example, some of the community requests, we came out and said, this we're not going to be able to do. Sorry. This is just not doable because, well, everything is doable, but it would take too much time.
Right.
So we're not going to do that. And for some other things, we're going to be like, hey, actually, that's a good idea. Can we try to sneak it in maybe for a patch, or maybe later again, like maybe like post launch. And that's what we did, for example, with the skip tutorial. Like a lot of people were saying, oh, since early access, I just please let me skip the tutorial. And we always said, god damn, that would be a great thing, but that just takes so much time. So we never managed to actually get it in. At launch we wanted to have it, but we just couldn't. So we just started doing like patches and all that, and now there's a free patch coming with the DLC, right? And in that free patch we had like the finally you can skip the tutorial.
You can skip
Hooray!
the tutorial. Okay. So a lot of it, I mean, and I'm noticing here from some of the comments in chat, Mordring says, I will buy every upcoming DLC for Solasta because devs are actually listening to feedback, which is such a rare gem these days. And I mean, that I think is the idea that there's and Alcat followed a similar path here. There's such a continual movement towards transparency, being clear with the community about what it is that you can and can't do, but also just sort of a general progress towards continually improving the game and making it better, makes a huge difference, it seems to me, rather than a company that has a particular game and then sort of is like, okay, and then abandons ship and goes off to do something else right after they've released it, it seems. In this case, there was a sense that Tactical was committed to really trying to make this game work, and if there were issues that Tactical could deal with, Tactical would deal with it, and make it more open to people. And it sounds like that sense of forward momentum as we get ready to transition to the game here. But that forward momentum, it sounds like, is a big thing. Just the feeling that you're making progress. I don't know if you got the same sense, but it always seemed to me the community appreciates it when you're just taking forward steps, even if it's not all the steps they want,
I mean, I feel like this is kind of a harsh take because I used to do like monetization management, right? So it's different strategies for different companies. Some companies just can't really afford to keep on supporting a game, and they need because of the maybe their business model is that they just need to publish more games because of the fact that every game just don't sell that much. So they constantly need to make more games, otherwise the company just like kind of just drops, right?
Right.
So if the game doesn't sell very well, then maybe the DLCs are not really on the table. Maybe you're gonna do like one or two small patches, and then you're gonna jump ship into like the next game. And for those who bought the game, it does suck. It's like, oh well, I kind of feel like I've bought the game, and the game just is there, and there's devs, are you here? But you have to remember that in the old days where you bought the CD, there was no patch. You bought the CD, and if the game was bugged, the game was bugged, and you're just. Well, that's
no. You remember the old days, there were no bugs, right? And it's only the modern bad companies that currently have bugs. Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that was the joke, right? You could exploit glitches and things like that because there was no other.
It became part of the game.
Yeah, exactly.
You basically had to like talk to friends about things, and they were like, oh yeah, never do this and that together. It will break your save and break your game, and you're like, oh crap, really? And then you will do it regardless to try and you break your game because that's what you do when you're a kid.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so if I'm talking about like Solasta and the fact that we can support the game, it's kind of a blessing because that means that we actually got a game that sold pretty well, so we can afford to do like free content updates, and we can afford to like make DLCs. I don't know how many DLCs we'll make, like maybe not a lot, right? But in any case, before we go on to the next game, we do have like some time that we can spare on Solasta to make it better, because I think there's very few people who are passionate about their game that would like to just abandon them, because you still want to, like, even if the game is out, you still have this nagging feeling that you kind of want to see the game with like all the classes. So you're like, maybe we should add more classes and DLCs. And then you're thinking, yeah, well, level 10 cap was a little bit low. Should we just try to get it higher? And then because you're thinking that, you're like, yeah, but the campaign kind of goes up to level 10 and the encounters are not balanced for that. So should we make like higher level monsters? And, if you basically pull that string, the whole yarn ball just comes running in as well. Because you're adding more work for animation, 3D, like design, programming for new features and all that.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, you're left with like, we're actually just making another game for free because we're just making updates. That is something that you have to understand. The reality is of the business is, unless you're selling like Minecraft does and you're like billionaires and you don't need to worry about anything, you cannot afford to do that. So that's kind of sad because you see fantastic games like Terraria or Stardew Valley or small indie companies that sold so much that they can't afford to just come back 2 years later and say, free update, all those cool shit. And you're like, cool, that's so great. That is so good customer support. And the reality of the thing is they can't do that because they sold enormous amount and they deserved it. Like, I'm not saying that, right? But because games usually don't make, like, those are really outliers, right? Games usually don't make that kind of money. You still need to say at some point, okay, we have to stop. Maybe we do some like fixing if there's some huge issues that come in the forum. But otherwise, we need to start working on a new game. And that new game is going to take us like 2, 3, 4 years. I don't know. So you have to think that those 4 years need to be living on the revenue brought by the previous game. So yeah, it's a lot of
it's a real balancing act. It seems to me to manage all of that, and and you're right. I mean, there's this sense of players don't want to get. Players don't like the idea of feeling as if something has been abandoned, and in some cases, I would say there's also an issue of momentum, right? Which is to say, when a game comes out, it's difficult sometimes to change a first impression. I won't get into too much about this, but one of the issues that people had among many with Underworld Ascendant is that when the game first actually released, and I interviewed Paul Neurath, and Ultima Underworld is one of my top 3 games of all time. It's hugely important. But Underworld Ascendant was not ready. It was clearly not ready. It was in bad shape when it released, and it took them a very long time during which they were working on System Shock 3, whatever the next System Shock was, and they were like, and so the result of that was just that they kind of lost the people who, by the time they had actually fixed it into some recognizable state, people already moved on. So there's also, I think, a sense of, as you say, balancing it so that you can get the game finished, so that people are pleased with it generally, but also you can't do nothing but just work on that one game when you have other things that you've got, in the till that you've got to put forward. So I guess balancing is a big part of what you have to engage in to make this happen.
And that's actually a very good point because technically community management is in marketing. It's not in like I'm not part of the dev team, I'm part of the marketing team, right? And the thing about that is it always comes down to, there's a way that you have to, like, basically you need to sell your game, right? So you're going to try to put your game in the best of light before it comes out. And sometimes, because you often saying, oh, marketing is like a bunch of liars, they promise the moon and then the game sucks.
Right.
And you have to remember that marketing sometimes, of course, there are some marketers that are completely dishonest and that will embellish things that will never exist. That exists. I'm not saying that doesn't exist. But oftentimes, marketing relies on production to tell them what the final game will look like. And production sometimes, if they kind of like overscope the game, it's kind of like what happened with like Cyberpunk, right? Like, of course the marketing threw super nice trailers and told you about those cool features. It's not that they never intended to make it. They intended to make that, but it just didn't work out. So the game felt kind of like incomplete for some people, for a lot of people, right? And people are just hammering about how marketing is evil because they lied to them, but it's not just marketing usually. It's also because there are issues with the development, and how many times they would push back because a lot of things didn't fit in, right? So I think it's the same when you talk about things like Underworld Ascendant. It's like I'm pretty sure no one is trying to make a bad game. So they probably tried to make a good game. It didn't came out right. They had like they needed to release it because budget was running dry and all stuff like that. And that's really like a tragedy, right? Like that happens. Sometimes your game is just that close to being good, but you just need to make revenue because you're just going dry and you just can't afford to just put the key under the door, right? So you release the game and you say, I'm gonna patch it. It's like the money's gonna come in, I'm gonna have time to patch it. But the problem is like you only have one release. Your game sucks, it comes out, people are not gonna forgive you.
Right.
And then you can fix all you want, and sometimes it's really hard to get back the people you actually, that feels betrayed because they tried it, it sucked. And there are very few games that manage to just grab and then come back in. For example, Everyone remembers how No Man's Skies came out. It was kind of bare bones.
Yep.
A lot of people were like, "This is garbage." Now we have like years later, and actually the game is good now. Like they added so much things.
That's a perfect example, actually, of a game that had a completely different experience now than when first started, because you're right, they kept working at it, and now I'd say that ended up as a success story, but boy, it sure wouldn't have seemed like that based on the reaction after a month, so yeah, you're quite right. That's very much in that ballpark.
And there are a lot of games like that where it's like, oh yeah, those were great. Like same like Rainbow Six Siege from Ubisoft. At first the launch was like kind of catastrophic. It was like bugged. They were lag, cheating all over the place. And now it's like one of the most played games. And it's like, well, how did it got there? Because they kept on supporting it. But this is kind of the Cinderella story that everyone wants to believe. It doesn't really work on smaller games. Because for bigger games with bigger names, you can still push a lot of your messages. You're like, you're still No Man's Sky. There's still a lot of people who bought the game in the past. So those people are gonna try it again at some point.
Right.
And they're gonna realize, hey, it doesn't really suck anymore. And then they're gonna tell their friends. Same, you're gonna put like trailers out. But if you take a look at Underworld Descendants, they probably don't have the budget to make a trailer just because they made an update, right? And all that kind of thing. So they're stuck because their launch was kind of like not so great. They did do a few updates, but even with the updates now, it's kind of like, well, it's too late. People are not going to come back in. Steam is very unforgiving when it comes to algorithm. So your game is not new. There's not like a sudden peak in interest. You're not going to be in the top list of Steam.
Yeah, so that's it's really interesting. I want to make note, since we're now having a chance to actually play this. And obviously we're focusing on combat in this particular section, but I wanted to comment on how pretty the environments are, and I was wondering how influenced the sort of one of the things that I think was always most striking about the Infinity Engine games, Baldur's Gate, Icewind Dale, was, I mean, Kuldahar rather, with the world tree is one of the most striking, just as art, maps you're ever going to see. But the environments I find to be not only unusual and tactically interesting, which is great from a mechanical point of view, but it's a beautiful environment. And I'm curious about how far... That's one of the things that surprised me, was that I wasn't expecting that the environments were going to be this pretty to look at. And since you spend so much of your time in these environments, like, they better be pretty to look at, right? So I was curious if you could talk a little bit about that. And Chad, I promise I will convey a few of these questions over. We'll get to that section in just a minute.
So when it comes to environment, we have a very, very great senior environment artist. How it works is that almost every single biome you see there, like environment, we had a concept artist draw what it would look like, the ruins. Like, for example, the ruins you're standing on, it's something that we drew, not exactly in that pattern, right? But it's like, we did draw, like, what's the... basically the how would Necropolis look like? How would Volcano look like? How would Carolem look like? Mm-hmm. So we had concept art for all those environments, and then from there our environment artist would start breaking down the bricks and say, all right, so we need a broken wall, we need a broken arc, we need moss to go on the trees, we need textures for the ground. And he would just do that piece by piece. And then what happened is that we have level builders. We have level designers, we have level builders. So level designers will try to make the arena tactically interesting. So they will be, it's just, imagine like a Lego set. Right. They will put blocks, white blocks, all over the place. And you would have like, okay, so here you can go, here you cannot go, here you can jump, all that kind of thing. And then once they have that, we call in the level builders. And level builder, what they do is they take all the pieces that were made by the environment artist and they start placing it. So here you see there is like blocks, there's like a block that's blocking the view. Yep. So what I'm gonna use? Am I gonna use like a tree? Oh no, I can climb on it. So okay, I'm gonna use one of the walls he just made. Here I'm gonna see there is a river, so let's try to put some decoration next to the river, like maybe a bark and or something. a boat. It's like I'm using French now. And here we see, okay, so we need to be able to climb there. So let's just put some moss so that the player can climb.
Right.
And when it comes to environment, I have to say, like, there's a lot of people who said that as well in the forums. Like, the faces kind of suck, but the environment looks great, and that's something I can agree with. The environment looks really great. AD, who is the guy who's behind most of the environment. We also have like Stefan, who joined us like recently, more recently, and who did also a lot of work. And they look really, really great. Like there's so much things that are just superb when you just walk around and admire just how the levels look like. And that's something we're really, really proud of.
Yeah, no, you did super, super well with that, and I think it makes, as Commander Dunsel said, it's sort of it's simple and effective, and that really is. It flows beautifully from the actual what you would expect, and of course, as you mentioned, it's got a lot of that tabletop feel to it, which is exactly what you were looking for. So, also we've had a chance to demo. We were talking about RNG. So, Chad, you've had a chance to see spectacular failures. This surprise round is going super well, by which I mean I've hit once and multiple missed, because certainly, God forbid, my folks actually know how to hit something from a distance. But in Effect Life, I'm sorry. I want to do that on my own channel before I try it over on GOG.com. So, sorry, I'm going to have to skip the question bot for now. Okay, so what if I can put that up there? So I think this is a good moment. Let me ask one other question here about, we've talked about the graphics a little bit. Let's talk about the music and the audio design, because one of the things that I think really makes this stand out, to me anyway, is there's a feeling of the immersion in the particular level. I'm not even talking about the world, but the level that you're in, so you can hear the rushing water, you can hear the birds overhead, and so forth. The music is very simple and it sort of goes along with that. There's not a whole lot of complexity on the musical side, but I thought the audio design is well done here as well, and I wonder how that came into play. Was it as involved? It sounds like the level design is a very involved process, and maybe that's why the level design came out so well. What about the audio side of things?
So the audio I'm a little bit less familiar with, because for the audio we do have a audio partner called G4F Studios, and they are handling handling everything that has to do with sound. So usually I know that there will be stuff like, it's very hand tweaked for a lot of things. For example, you have different sound if the feet actually are on rock or moss, or all those kind of things. Like inside the dungeon, there's like reverb and all that. So it's kind of like there's a lot of fine tuning. Meaning also there's a lot of small bugs sometimes, like things that just like, oh, there's no sound on that for some reason, because like it's like one of the many things that need sound. So Kitty, just stop moving there. Just okay, right. so yeah, like I was saying, it's a thing where sound I'm a little bit less familiar with. I cannot really talk too much about it because I don't want to say something stupid about it.
Okay. No, that's fine. Okay. So let me, Chad, let me open this up now to ask, you get a chance to ask a few questions of Emile Zhang, who's the community lead for Tactical Adventures that made this incredible game that you're currently watching me fail at terribly as I try to hit these guys. What I would like is, what would be really helpful is if people could just do question in all caps in chat with the colon, and then just whatever question that you'd like to ask. I will let you know that I will do the best I can to ask many of these. I may not be able to ask all of them, and I reserve the right not to ask questions that may not seem appropriate, and or to immediately agree if Emile feels like it's not something they'd prefer to have. So Vegan Milkshake asks, after the recent update, I noticed many boss enemies like Aksha are no longer available in the DM's monster gadget. Do you know whether this is a bug, or if not, why did TA make this decision?
So that's actually a good point. I actually asked that myself, because I was like, hey, that's not something I was aware of. Like, why did we do that? And it turns out that the explanation was that the AI for those boss monsters are really, really linked with their actual battleground, like the place where the battle takes place. It's basically hand-tailored AI for that. Okay. So the problem we've had with like boss monsters in DM is that very often they would act very buggy. So they would be like really, really dumb, or do things that they shouldn't be doing. So at the end of the day, we thought, hey, actually, it's just better not to have them in. It, whether you agree or not, this is a little bit more like personal. Personally, I would have still liked to have them, but I can understand, especially like because the guy who made this decision is actually the lead programmer who made the AI for those monsters.
Okay.
So if he thinks that it's better not to have them because, well, he coded those AI, and he knows that it was gonna, like, something is gonna screw up, then we also have to respect his decision as an expert. Like sometimes, it's not the answer we want to hear, but fair is fair. It's actually a answer.
Yeah, he points out that DM Pro lets you add them back in. So
exactly. Yeah. There's modding. So like, if you really want to, there's ways to add them back in.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like it's gonna make you crash your game or something.
Gotcha. Sir Madness TV asks, after the release of DLC and stuff, do you think the Tactical Adventures will be able to make other DLCs in order to complete the SRD races, classes, and monsters?
That's actually a very hard question to answer because the DLC, the number of DLCs also depending on how well the game sells, because and how well the DLC sells, because at some point, like I said before, we're a company, right? So we need to have we need to still make money for the future game that we're working on, and the more DLC we make, the later we're gonna start working on the future game. And we still have all those people to pay, right? It's like we're 17 people. We're not just gonna fire everyone once the product is out.
Yes.
And just hire
not
them
all
back
companies
in
feel this way, by the way, but I'm glad that
Exactly.
you are willing to pay them the whole time.
I don't know why my cat is like so happy to just run around the computer.
Hey, we're
but
cool
yeah.
with cats here. It's all good.
So yeah, so I would love to tell you that yes, we're gonna add all the the classes, all the races, all that kind of thing, but I cannot say that because I myself don't know. Like if there's a will, there's a way. Yes, of course I would love to, but the reality of things is that we have to take also financial factors into account, and that I just cannot talk about it because because we're not talking about sales.
No, I totally get that. Let me jump over quickly and see here. Glad that I finally managed to kill someone. Man, my rolls today. Question, how does Emile judge whether a lot of noise is a real issue or just a vocal minority? So I guess basically kind of expanding on what we talked about before, if there are people in the forums complaining about something, how much is it easy for you to judge, or how do you judge whether it's just it is a real issue or whether it's just one person with a hobby horse that they just have to talk about all the time?
So there's no real good answer on that because unlike, let's say, like drawing or programming where you just know when you fucked up or not, this one is it's human science. It's like we have to take into account the experience we have, and we just have to roll with it sometimes. So maybe sometimes maybe I'm wrong. There's a lot of things where I cannot know if I'm going to be right or wrong on that. And I just have to, like I said before, the how we actually go around and trying to look at the noise, like you say, that the community is bringing, is trying to find the reason why they're being noisy. It's like people are usually going to yell about stuff, and then you understand why they're yelling, and sometimes the reason they're yelling is not the reason why they're giving.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So once you understand the reason why they're yelling, you can have a better idea of, can I fix it or can I not fix it? And also, is it reasonable? For example, some people are just going to say, oh, you know what, your faces are all complete garbage, and there's a lot of people saying that, right? So it's not like there's not a lot of those. But the thing is, we have to ask ourselves, can we replace every single face of the game? No, it's way too expensive, right? It takes way too much time. And we have to think about other things. Like we already tried to make them better, and it's actually what screwed us up, because some people are saying, hey, early access faces were better. Truth be told, it's really subjective. Like some people are looking at it and say, well, actually it looks like crap. It looked like crap before that too. So there's people, and a lot of people just don't remember well, and they just know that now the faces are kind of ugly. Where did the fireball go? Oh no, it's a firebolt. I thought it was a fireball.
Yeah, I thought it was a fireball too, and I was like,
Yeah.
Yeah, that could have been a problem.
But yeah, it's kind of like that where you're like, okay, we did that mistake once. We tried to replace old faces with new faces, thinking it would look better. It didn't. That's why people are complaining. And some people have like some people preferred older faces. So in they're saying, hey, it was working before, now it doesn't work, and now it's ugly. So like I was saying, truth be told, it's kind of like it's not really that much uglier or that much better. It's just different. And some people prefer the old one, some people prefer the new one. It's still not great, and that's the thing. So we would need to try to make better faces, make sure everyone likes them. We shouldn't be replacing them. We should just add them to the list, and that means that people who already had ugly faces still have ugly faces. It's very complex. So for issues like that, we would just, there are some times where we just have to say, let's really select or choose our battle carefully. We cannot fix everything. We cannot add everything. So what do we do?
Yep,
and
seems smart.
that's where we come to, like you say, gating the noise.
I believe I was just hit with a lightning bolt through a wall, so that...
Yeah. So actually, this is a good point, because that's another thing that people have asked. They're saying, hey, lightning bolts and stuff like that, AoE spells that are in direct lines, they go through the walls. And that's because we never had the time to develop the feature to have the walls block those type of spells. Because it's actually a bit more complex, because you have to basically every wall would need to have a detector to know that the spells don't go through and all that kind of thing. So we already had issues with performance in the past, so we can't just add it just nilly-willy and just say, oh, now it works, because
Right.
it might just tank the game. And we actually have this in a list somewhere of feedback that we have received, and it's more a question of, at the moment, is it a priority? No, it's annoying, yes, but it's not going to completely break the game. So it's something that may come in the future patch, but it's not something that we can say, yeah, definitely. For example, the skip tutorial, we said in the past, we want to do it. It's just we don't know when yet. For this one, it's we would be cool if we could do it. Are we gonna do it? It depends.
Okay, that's helpful to know. Yeah, I honestly did not realize that. Means I'm going to be in big trouble here. Yeah. Yep, that did not go well. I should have realized that was the thing. All right, let's see. Let me ask a few more questions from chat, which is, let's see, Emile, with Tactical Adventures having gone with the SRD, is there active consideration for a fully licensed D&D title in the future, or is the current method preferred? You may not be able to talk about that, but...
It's, actually, I mean, to answer it clearly, having a full license with Wizard is both costly and also very restrictive. So why I say that is because, Wizard have control over the license, and that's normal. They want to have a say on how you use their license, if you do use their license. For example, for Baldur's Gate 3, they are in almost constant contact with some of the lead designers of D&D, right? Because they need to talk about stuff, especially since they are in the Forgotten Realms.
Right.
Yeah, Forgotten Realms. Because I keep on mixing Forgotten Realms and Forbidden Lands nowadays.
Yes.
So yeah, and especially since they're using the Forgotten Realm world, so they need to make sure that we're not screwing up too much with the head canons of stuff. If they were to add Drist, for example, how do they do that? Where did they add him? How much level do they have? What is he gonna do? All those kind of things. For example, right now I already saw that there's Volo, and Volo is one of those also big names in D&D.
Right.
So having the full license means you add restrictions, but also you add more possibility. And the other side is it's also expensive. Having a full license. Why are not everyone making games about Marvel games? Because Marvel games are hella expensive. Marvel license are hella expensive. And D&D is also not that cheap, because it's 5e is really just blowing up. So I mean, it's that's where it comes down to. It's also like business, and people don't like to hear that. Like it kind of feels like it's cheapening the passion aspect of making games. But like I said, in the end of the day, making video games is both a passion, but also a business. You do not run on passion. It's like you always hear about those kind of thing where people are like, "Hey, I'm gonna pay your drawing by giving it visibility." Yeah, visibility is not gonna pay the rent, right?
Exposure, yes.
Exposure, yeah, exposure, and that's the same for video games. Like if we could feed in passion, oh great, we would just do whatever we want, right? But we need to also put money on the table to have like food,
Yep.
and pay rent.
Very, very logical. Okay, let's see. There is one other one that I saw that I wanted to pass along, which was, let's say zoom up here. Excuse me. All right. Sir Madness asks, can you let us know more about the project that Talion runs? Is it progressing? I don't know. I'm not sure what this is.
I am not gonna say anything about that because Talion is a different entity, and I'm not gonna be talking in their stead.
Okay. Then let's see. One quick question from Alkeid, and then I'll ask Marinda, and then we'll look towards coming close to wrapping up. But let me start with Alkeid's question, which is, when will the next DLC come out?
That I cannot say. Sorry. If we were to say anything about the next DLC, we would just announce it publicly.
Okay, that's what I figured. But
yeah.
So then Marinda asks, do you have a favorite bug or glitch, or otherwise this isn't working like it probably should, but I love it anyway?
We had a lot during development that like there were plenty of things that kind of like were funny glitches. We had one where when we first added like traps that make you fall, it would make you fall into an infinite loop. Like you would just fall down, and then you would teleport back into where the trap was, and then fall again, and then teleport back. So that was really dumb, and it looked absolutely dumb. It never made it into the game because it was like we found that before, right? But we had some gifs of the testing room with that happening. There were bugs where for some reason the hair in the body would just go completely banana, and you would end up with like Wookiees because like the polygons would just go all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
We had, what was another bug that was kind of funny? Yeah, we had at some point, and that was during the release. It was in the 1.0 version before we patched it. At some point, the poisons were used or considered as healing potions, so you could drink them.
Okay.
And that was not really doing well. That was not something that you should do, right? Drinking potion doesn't really work. And the other, I think there was another bug that was kind of funny. I think it was with the AI of one of the monsters doing something really, really dumb, but I don't remember which one.
I gotcha.
We bring light in darkness.
And my favorite was, wow, I actually hit for a change. I have to say it's not a bug, but one of the things that I found most amusing, and you can see it happening right now, is these spider slippers, spider walk slippers, means that that these things happen all the time with, characters just standing on the sides of walls and things like that because they're standing there, which is very funny to me personally. So it's not a bug, it's just amusing ultimately.
Oh, it is.
It's a good time always. Okay. Well, one last question for me, I guess, which is, and this is the one that I think, well, I'll throw it out there and see what you think. There is always a sense of, you always talked about the idea, we wanted to have everything and we can't have everything, and so we have to make decisions. Is there one thing that you or members of the team directly that you knew really wanted, besides the lighting, which you brought up before, where you were really like, this would be awesome, and you just couldn't manage it yet? The sort of the last thing that hit the cutting room floor is the way they would describe it in film. The last scene that they really wanted to keep but ultimately couldn't. Is there one like that? One thing they're like, I really wish we could have done this, but weren't able to.
So one of the thing is we really, really wished we could have done a better job with the faces. I think we were kind of rushing it because like people were really complaining during early access about the faces not looking great. So we were like, oh crap, we got to do something about that because we have a game that has like a lot of cutscenes and the faces are being put in like, all over the place, right? So you're
You'll
kind of
surely
like,
prevail.
God damn it, let's do something about it. The thing is, like, let's be honest, we didn't like. I think it's not like really tested. Because we did test, but we didn't really spend enough time confirming that they looked good in game. So the way we did it back then, and that was our mistake, is that we had faces and the models were outside the game, and outside the game they looked fine. And the thing is, we
like
basically
it?
validated those faces outside the game, and when it came to importing them in the game, and we took a look at it, we're like, oh crap, it just doesn't look the same. So we tried to make adjustment, but the patch was coming soon, and we already promised new faces. So we actually got them out, and it wasn't great. It was really not great, and we realized that afterwards that a lot of people were also complaining because we not only made not great faces, but we also replaced the old one with it because the new faces were not compatible with the old faces. We had changed a lot of how the beard and hair would work with the old and with the new faces compared to the old. So we had to either keep the old faces or keep all the new faces.
Right.
And we decided to go with the new face. And that's where things kind of went to shit, right? Because like people wouldn't complain because some people like their old faces and you would just change it for them. And they had their characters before. And you're like, ah. So all of this is like a hindsight 2020. We shouldn't have done that. Another thing that kind of saddens me is I really wish we had more time to do more balancing on the final part of the game, because if you've realized it, for some people who played until the end, we had a fairly balanced part in the first section because it was in early access. So we had plenty of feedback. So we polished the balancing. We know there's like a difficulty spike at Aksha's fight, but that's normal. We kind of wanted it that way. But then after that, everything is kind of like easy, right? And it's easy until you get to our. So I did you already finish the game? So I don't spoil you.
I have not finished it yet.
Okay, so I'm not gonna spoil it. So so everything is kind of easy until you get to a certain boss.
Okay.
And before that, like, it just feels like it's not that much of a challenge, and you're like, maybe we should have made it a little bit harder. And then at the very end of the game, the final fight was just way too easy. Like the final level, like a lot of people were just saying it's kind of like it's like a wet firework where you just like wet cracker where you throw it and it just goes pop, and you're like, God damn it, we really wanted it to be an epic ending where you would just fight for your life at the end and all that kind of thing. And so for the final fight, we did manage to rebalance it in this patch, right? But we can't, like, there's just too many risks in rebalancing entire sections of the game. We could do that. Like, there's a lot of games that do that, but it takes a lot of time and a lot of fine tuning. And right now, there's like a lot of work on like future stuff we were working on. So it's just like we cannot afford to have like people work on too many things at once. And because of that, there's a lot of like small things, small finishing touch that I wish we had. For example, there's some items that don't have +1 or +2 versions. Like some weapons don't have magic version. Like for example, scimitars, I think, don't have any magic weapons versions. Or some armors, like I think the hide armor doesn't have any magic version. So that kind of feels sad, right? It's like, oh well, we could have done that. It's not that hard to do. It's just we didn't, because we didn't have the time to go through everything minutiously and say, hey, we're missing those kind of magic items. And same with like all those wondrous items, we could have done more. And crafting, we could have done crafting for wondrous item, not just armor and weapons. So all of those small things just take time, and they're not very hard to do, but it's like things that are easy to miss because no one's going to really complain about it because it's like a small thing. But when you take a look at it, you're kind of like, I wish we had the time to do it, because it's just better when all our bases are covered.
And Mirinda points out in chat that, the lessons of the faces are, if you don't have the time to do it right, then don't do it. And I mean, under the circumstances, sure, there are certain things that perhaps were not perfect in the way that you would have done them. But I appreciate your answer to the question, because I've asked that before, and I usually get people who try, but it's it's sort of like, if you have is there one fault, the classic interview one where people are like, well, my fault is I care too much about my job or some nonsense like that, where, it's not really a fault. But this is a case where you were being very honest about something which you perceived as a weakness, and which admittedly is a little bit of a weakness. I would
Yeah,
agree.
I mean,
but
to be
is still
yeah.
outweighed by the other things, I guess.
I mean, to be fair, we really thought we had time, and it's less of we didn't have time and more about like we realized that too late. Basically, we realized too late that it didn't really work out as we wanted, and that's because our pipeline failed. That can happen. You have like a process to make things to ensure that the quality is there, and you realize at some point that you've been doing something that's kind of busted. It just doesn't work, and that's at that point you're like, oh crap, right? It's like so yeah, it's more a question of like we had the time, but we realized that too late that we made a mistake along the way, and at that point we're just already committed. So yeah, that's something that can happen.
Still, I mean, under the circumstances, there's a sense of like, I think you did a lot well, though, and I think the team did a lot well. And I mean, as we were watching, just playing through it, I was able to play what was an enjoyable combat that didn't start well, but because of the knowledge I have of this particular game and the tactical information which you gave us and so forth, it gives me an opportunity to catch up, I guess, on and sort of compensate for what I did wrong before. And that is a real strength, I think, of the system, because it felt right. It felt like something which I would expect in the D&D world. And I mean, as you may have heard before, I play a lot of D&D. I've been playing since 1984 and DM'd for over 30 years. So, and I do that on this channel with several campaigns. So I admire that whole sensibility very much. Exactly, Dunsel. Solasta is good entertainment. That's really the thing that matters. One last question, which I'll give for Effect Life, and then we'll stop, which is there... I already jumped right here. Which is, are there things currently in the works for a future update that you can already tease a bit about?
That's actually kind of hard. So just know that we are going to like in the coming weeks, we're still going to do some hot fixes because there's still like some bugs we're finding in our our analytics. So basically, whenever someone is having like the game is having like instability, it will send like a message to us, so we can see like which instability is just like triggering all the time. Let me tell you, there's a lot of instability caused by mods because like people are adding like the bard or the warlock, and that that's normal. Like I love modding as well. It's just we can't fix instability caused by mods because that's not the code that we have access to. So yeah, but we did find some other small things that we're gonna fix in the coming weeks. I know that's not really an answer that you would like to hear because it's like it's not like teasing a big thing or anything like that. But yeah, it's things that we're gonna work on, and if we have another DLC or another update, know that we're gonna communicate on it at some point so that you are aware. It's not gonna come out of nowhere.
That's good stuff. And I really appreciated this. I'm going to jump back over to the main screen for a minute, Chad, and then we will. Then I'll come back to the game in a moment. But
just to tell you, because Bo Elving, I see that he's saying I will probably buy the game when it's cheaper. Right now, the game is 50% off normally. So I don't know if we're gonna put it much lower than 50%, at least not in the foreseeable future. So yeah, just so you know, in case.
Yeah, definitely, and I would agree with that. And you can get it, of course, right here on GOG.com, where I have been playing it, and you can do that if you click on that link down below. I have !game in chat. You can click on that, use that link, and you can go over and pick this up and support these people. So that would be great. Okay, last very quick question, which is just at some point down the road, Dunsel asks, will it be possible to open source Solasta very far down the road?
I don't think so, because again, there's like agreements with like Wizard of the Coast, because we're still using the SRD for video game, and it's not just like open bar, like everyone can use it. So because there's like there's a lot of like sensitive stuff that we don't have. Like it's not just our code. Oh, I mean it's our code, but it implies agreements with other companies.
Right.
So if it was just us doing our own homebrew stuff and having fun, probably we could, but this is not a possibility for us nowadays.
I got
And,
you.
and even like down the road, because we're yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense because it's not just you. It's also, as you say, other people are involved. So, Emile, I'm very grateful to you for doing this interview and for sticking on longer than we had originally planned to answer a bunch of questions. This was really
Can,
informative and interesting, and thank you. Is
can
there
I
any other
actually
message you want to
yeah,
communicate to the people, please?
I want to say one last thing. For those of sorry, no, because I just realized there are contests going on at the moment from the community. There is a Vel and there is the Sir Madness that are doing contests with prizes at the key. So if you're interested in like dungeon makers, Vel is doing a speed run contest with like prize money, and a Sir Madness is doing a dungeon maker contest
Oh, cool.
with also prize money and games at key. But yeah, I think it's like yeah. Sorry about that. I am aware that I'm on GOG.com. I think the price are Steam cards. So that's just yeah. I'm not really sure I should have talked about that. Sorry about that. I just realized the prize money was not yeah.
Oh well, still, I am grateful for you being on, and thank you, Emile. If down the line, if something else comes out where Solasta has a particular, where the Tactical Adventures, sorry, has a particular DLC for Solasta or something like that that they'd like to do, or would be interested in coming back on to chat with us, I would be happy to do that, and I'm grateful that you took some time for us today. So thank you.
Oh yeah, I was very happy to be there, and it's always cool to talk to the community and also to you, because like it was really interesting to have a chat about like all those kind of things. And you, like you said, you already talked to so many other cool devs, so it gives a lot of experience and context to a lot of things that that other people also get to answer.
Yeah, it was great great fun to have you on. Chat, can we get some love for Emile Zhang? And yeah, Emile, thank you again, and tell everybody else that they're doing a great job and to keep up.
Yeah.
To keep this up, and if they happen to push some code that makes it that my people don't critically miss at the worst times, I wouldn't object. No, I'm kidding. That's fine.
All right.
But thank you so much, Emile.
Yeah, sure. Anytime.
Bye for now.
All right. Cheers.
Okay. Good stuff, chat. That was cool. I really enjoyed that. Very, and obviously, as you could all tell, there wasn't much that I had to do. Obviously, Emile has quite a bit of practice in being able to get through these things and do interviews of this kind, but I was glad to be able to do that. And we're not done. We actually have another hour and 15 minutes still to go, so we're not done. But he had already been on here. He's on like an hour and a half, and originally we had planned it for an hour, but it was just really interesting, and we were going on from there. So that's why we did it that way. So yeah, that was really cool. And I want to again reiterate what was said before, which is obviously everyone has their own costs that they can or can't afford, but under the circumstances right now, there really is the game for relative to other games of this type. The game is pretty worth the cost, and so if you get the opportunity, I would definitely recommend that you consider paying for what's there, because it really does, it makes a difference to these folks when they have that kind of support, and so yeah, definitely support them if you can. Also, big ups to my guardian of faith who really helped, because yeah, man, that early part of that fight was just me missing like it was my job. And then later on was it better. Yeah, $20 is like, yeah, and we didn't even have a chance to talk too much about the custom dungeon stuff. I obviously have done a little bit of that, and have had a chance to play a couple of custom mods, but honestly have not had time. I'm too busy DMing, tabletop games to be able to put together more of these in these modules, but it has been cool to see that as a potential as well. So it's good stuff. 500 hours, no kidding, huh? Oh, cool, Effect Life. That's awesome. Yeah, I think you will like it, Effect Life. Again, it's not perfect, but it does a lot of things very, very well. And they were and he was very honest, actually, about the things that a lot of people would talk about, like the faces and things like that, things that I would not have expected necessarily that he would talk about. So that was cool. Okay. So that was level 5, level 6. Okay, let's find that. So I want to run some of these before I head back to Caer Kiflin. So let's go with the Magister's Amulet. Apostasy. Dalen Lark wants to see you. Return to him as soon as possible. Okay. Well... Question is, can I go there and then go there? I probably can, right? 7 days, huh? Caer Kiflin's there. Really? Yeah, you know, I found, what? I'm never surprised. I actually found it was a little weird doing the modding for me, like opening up a mod manager and sort of doing the custom dungeons. And the problem was that I didn't want to start a whole new set of characters. So I think that when I get done with the main campaign, that's when I'd be more likely to go back and do some of these other mod things, I think. Oh, God. What? That's bad. I'll admit that I'm surprised, yes. Absolutely, Sir Madness, yeah. Thank you as well, by the way, Sir Madness, for the bringing in a few people at the beginning. I didn't know that you had been part of the community for a while on this thing. Yeah, and it was interesting. I mean, we definitely asked him somewhat of it, but yeah, it's true. It's not always easy to know the exact way to resolve that tension. God, these critical misses. What the flip? Thank you.
No quarter given.
Why can I not do that? Interesting. I can't leave there. All right. All right, I'm going to have to take the attack of opportunity. I don't like it. I don't like it. Yeah.
You've seen worse.
Yeah, I have. Oh, I have step back. Man, I've got to remember that. I have step back now, which would have allowed me to do that without taking that attack. Yeah, no, my pleasure. Very much enjoyed it. Dude, these dice rolls. Oh, the double misses are killing me. Yes, you must do better. Yes, you must. You sure must. You got that right. Come on. Good God. Thank you. Ow. Okay. Really? 3 points at really? 3. 3 points? That's better. Oh, my pleasure, Tim Coolish. Thank you. Oh, I agree with you completely, Sir Madness. Yeah, I know, Adric, yeah. I agree with you, though, completely, Sir Madness. Yeah, it is a good community. It's, everyone has problem. It's not, nothing's always perfect, but it's, in general, it's a really good community, I think. I guess because it's large, so I guess that's why that's not doing it. Okay. It's right in front of you!
Luck.
Are you kidding? I just... What? Okay. Please hit this thing. Oh, wait. I already have it on there.
Don't lose hope.
Oh, my pleasure, Tim Coolish. Oh, interesting, more drink. Woo! Get a little more clearance. Carthy is hitting, although that damage was pretty bad. 26. This thing is not having trouble hitting. Good gravy. Out of range. Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Okay. That's not going to get the job done then. Okay. Let's get spiritual weapon in there. 13.
Come on.
Can you hit? Dude, really? Really? Just want to be clear, really? Oh, Ragnar, please. Thank you.
Perfect.
How about we do that again? Hey, look, that's how we hit things. Can we keep up this shocking development of hitting things? Oh my goodness!
Bend the knee or perish.
Bend the knee after your turns? Alright, 4 hits in a row. Feeling better, feeling better. I'm feeling alright. And the crit.
How does that feel?
Woo! Alright. That was interesting. Okay. Ah, Thaco. Okay. Now, what I do get to attune here is this. Bracers of Archery. Yes, I don't know whether people saw that. But what Bracers of Archery does is, and now they're attuned, proficiency with a longbow and sharp, I already had that. +2 bonus on damage rolls on ranged attacks made with such weapons. That, people, is what we're talking about. Okay. Let's resume. Gotta go all the way around. That really confused me at first. I was like, what? Long Night Poisoned Arrow. Actually, let me... You know what? I'm going to equip... Deep Pain. Poison crafted with scales of flying snakes which consumes you from the inside. is terrifying. Paralyze is also terrifying. Can I not? Can I do that now? No, I can't. Okay. Thank goodness for the good berry. Hey, what's up, Lone Wolf? I like these little travel journal things over here. So we're going to head down here. We're going to go pick up this other part of the quest, and then we're going to head back to Cair Cioflin. Solasta Journey's been great. We just got done with a really great interview, which reminds me I should tweet that out. Let's see. Okay. And let's see. All right. Sorry, I'm just quickly noting. Just quickly thanking the powers that be for Okay, let's see. So bear with me, chat. Bear with me, just 1 second. Be with you in 1 moment. Just making sure that I... Okay, and... Okay. And I have retweeted that. Good. All right, and I've sent my thanks along. Good. Done my job. All right, on we go. Yeah, I really enjoyed that. A lot of really interesting answers there, and stuff that I've heard from other developers, and then there are other things which are not quite the same thing, and that's neat. Okay. It's a little odd. They're going down there and bounce around. Sometimes I don't understand exactly where people are. I'm like, what? But obviously you've got to go with around the topography. See, that's where we're going, and then we're going back to Cair Cioflin. Weak monsters run away as they see the party approaching. That's good to know. Oh, really, Cat Pig? Okay. I've been back here several times, actually, for side quest things. The only thing I don't know a lot about Black Geyser yet. I did a little bit of, and it's been a few months now since I took a look at what the game was intended to be. So I like a game which understands what it is. Obviously, I like a game which has an understanding of its roots, but also understands the circumstances under which, how it functions and what it does, because I enjoy good RPGs. So the fact that the Infinity Engine games made, for example, some changes that were not necessarily a part of what we saw with, for example, you know, that there were some things, let's say, that the game didn't get that was completely in line with D&D, you know, that they made some alterations and changes for a computer game. Doesn't bother me in the least, because what I'm looking for is a good game and a compelling story, and if it's told in the D&D universe, so much the better. I think it's really cool that we have games like this that really capture the feeling of 5e. You know, I really love that. But you know, I don't need to have that for everything to function. So for something like Black Geyser, I need to look more and see aspects of what the game is going to be like, and how it's going to be put together, because I don't remember the specifics about what Black Geyser is going to involve. I've looked into it, but I have not had a chance to look in very carefully as of late. So, whoa, what? Oh. Definitely. Yeah, no, definitely. Do I take it that you're excited about Black Geyser? Fortress of the Shield is completed. Okay, let's see. Pick up that. And all of this stuff. Leather. Sell all. Got the Imperial Outpost ruins left. Okay.
Good to see you, deputies.
Okay. So, now, Magister's Amulet. Search the tower's library. Okay. So I'm guessing we're talking about right here. What? I mean, you can't save now. Okay. Library. I'll tell you what, though. Being hit through walls with that thing, I was like, wait, what? That surprised me. All right, sounds good. Thanks, Effect Life. And by the way, Effect Life, we will be able to use your question thing in the future. I just didn't want to do it, try to figure it out while I was on GOG.com's channel. Like, I want to, when I do a developer interview on my own channel, and I will, then we'll have a chance to use that. So, it's going to happen. Yeah, there was one thing over here. I gotcha. Very old school, yeah. You know, and one of the things interesting to me about all of this was, we have a couple of things there to look at. All right, let's see if we can get there. Was the game, was that some graphical, I've never been someone who requires graphics for a game to work, but there are times when a game's graphics does make really a big difference. And I have to say, some of the games that are from Spider Software, what the heck are those? Like, I want to say Arcaneum, but that's not it. Like Into the Pit, Avedon, that company, the guy who makes that spider web software is the name of the company. It's too old school for me. Like, I can't, too much, you know? Like, I can't deal. So yeah, I may need to fly down to those. Yeah, that's it, Giltonum. No, I haven't seen your latest Discord message unless it's about the stuff we've been talking about with Roll20, in which case I haven't had a chance to deal with it, but I will affect life soon. Ah, yes, I could see that. I could see that for Diablo 2. You know, and again, it's like I understand that it's not where the person wants to focus, and I respect that, but I just, it makes a difference. I don't know. For me, so. Whoa!
You're not too rusty.
All right. Not bad. What do we got? We have got crafting white burn, primed short sword in the blood of Solasta. Ooh. And crafting a short bow of accuracy. I think I have a couple of those. Yeah, but see, we need to be proficient in Menkalan Rosary, and we are not. Okay, let's see. So it's one of those things. Let's get over there.
Artistic note? Not much.
All right, sounds good. Effect life. It really is. So much of this is really very beautiful, honestly.
That's impressive.
Damn right, it's impressive. Jump! I wish we could, like, hit this somehow. Like, target it or something. Now, I do have a fly potion, but I wanted to wait before I used it. See if this is worth it. Soul gem and a handy haversack. I don't think that's worth it. They did say the library, right?
Heave ho!
Yeah, I already looted that. What's your guess for the next DLC? I don't have one. I don't actually have a guess as to what their next DLC is going to be. See, the problem is I have been playing this. I play this basically a couple of times what does it work out to? Usually twice a month, sometimes 3 times, but usually twice a month. And I play for 3 hours each time. So I'm only putting in about 6 hours a month. So that means at that speed, by the time I get to anything that would be like, oh, I wish there was a DLC, all of the stuff will already be out, you know? So it's there's a lot there's a lot there that I'm like, well, I don't know, because I'm content to just continue to go through with what I've got. It's the best 6 hours of the month. It is an excellent game. It is a really excellent game that I've enjoyed thoroughly. I am confused about this. I can't imagine that they mean search the crown room when they mean search the library. What did I see? What? I think I already lit this light. Well, what I might do is I might reload it, because I honestly didn't, like, the stuff over there was not that important, so... Oh, really? Interesting. Yeah, I mean... I've played some of the early access for Baldur's Gate 3, and I know Darksaber 2K on this channel has played some of that and has enjoyed it, and I've been preferring this game. Obviously, the story and everything else would be something, but I've been enjoying this experience more. I just gotta be honest. But that's just me. Okay. When they'll work together on Baldur's Gate 4? Ah. Interesting. Yeah. I don't know, though. Larian's pretty big. They might just work on it on their own. What was that? Ah. Hey, it's the Magister's Amulet. Nice. Okay, cool. Success. Alrighty. What? A battle? This is unprecedented. Oh, okay. Hi. Hi. Perhaps we can let's talk this through. Woo. It's gonna be fun. Oh, great. This is great. Oh, God. They look really cool, but... Oh, no! Help!
You're still standing.
I'm still standing. This is very bad. This is a bad time for your suck to start here. Oh my god, it's gonna resist everything, isn't it?
Take that!
You know what? I've heard of Drakensang. I have heard of Drakensang. I don't think I ever played it though, Pariah. I don't believe so. Someday I'm going to actually be able to use this. But that day is not this day. You're marked. Poison is going to make any difference. Probably not. Come on, dude.
Better.
This is going to be a big problem. I don't know. Ow. Okay. Right. Okay.
You like it?
Vampiric touch. That's good. Okay. Getting there. Thank God for Ragnar. Have that damage. Ow. Not good. None of that's good. None of it's good. None of it, chat. None of it is good.
You die like the rest.
I mean, maybe. Oh, the critical miss is bad. Why? Why would you do a critical miss? Okay. I'm gonna do this because I really... Yeah. What I should have been using before. That is not the time to miss with that. You're killing me, Smalls. That is not the time to miss with that.
You can take it.
Ow. Ow. Right now he's blocked from getting down there, which is nice because I would be in major trouble otherwise. Okay, time for a mass healing word, big time. Okay, and then this. I'll make a note to it. guess so. Yeah. All right. Sorry, chat. Just real life. All right. Okay. What was I doing? All right. Okay, that mass healing word was good. Up to hit point. Right. Okay, I get it. I get it. That's touch, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, it is. Sigh. Okay.
Too slow.
See you do that again. That's not how you do it again. I actually don't want to move them off this spot because it's one of the things keeping that fourth air elemental from entering the fight. And I'm in big enough trouble as it is. Oh my god! Leave her alone, for the love of...
Again.
Okay. This is not the time to miss. All my +1 arrows. All my +1 arrows have sucked. Every single one of my +1 arrows have sucked. So infuriating. Wow. Really? Oh, no problem there. Just, yeah, just absolutely win all the time. Just keep hitting every single time. Sure. Absolutely, I see that happening. Okay.
That's
24. I'm not going to survive this. Here we go. Wow. Oh my goodness, a double miss. May miracles never cease. All right, Ragnar, you have got to take this thing down.
Wait till the next one.
Oh, what does it have? Like 1 hit point? Come on! Come on! Oh, just come on. Oh my goodness gracious. Goodness gracious. Unbelievable. I can't believe
No
that.
one behind.
Good. That's great. That's great. Thanks. Super useful. Thank you. Exactly what I wanted. That's great. No, that's great. Thanks. Super awesome. Thank you. Unfreaking believable. Please kill this thing. Thank you. God. Good grief. Ow.
No quarter given.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the karmic dice is one thing, but just, like, being that close is very frustrating. I was like, are you kidding me? Oh, man. All right. I'm going to have to take this hit. Yeah. Thank you. That's how you hit it. That's how you hit it
Bend the
twice.
knee or perish.
Oh, what? Why are you leaving?
Shake it off.
Fire or worse. All right. Okay. Wish I could use this on large creatures. Okay. I did that. Ow. Okay. Dima, I have no what's up? I have no opinion actually of Steam Deck, to be honest with you. I don't have any idea. I have no clue. I mean, I see it and it'll be interesting to sort of check it out, but I know nothing about it. Sorry. Okay, right. I need to. We're in big trouble.
ruck.
Okay. Right. Where are we? We're right here. Right? We're right here. Come on, Ragmar. Let's go. Thank you. I love step back that I can't use because everything is blocked off. That's great. I want point blank shot.
I am unbeatable.
No, you're very beatable. Okay.
Shake
Damn
it
it.
off.
Okay. This fight is rough. This fight is very rough. That hurt. No, I don't want to do that. Word. Giving word. Can't see my... Can't see... Okay, wait. Can I go here? Can't tell if I can see. I think I might be able to. Okay, now. I can. Good, there's that. Alright, let's go.
I'll remember.
Okay, and then... Could preserve life there. See what we got with that. That's a good call, actually. I should have thought of that. That's a good call on force damage, yeah. Alright, I'll keep that in mind for next time. If there is a next time. Welcome back, Carthia. Oh, nice of you to join us. Okay, let's see. Switch over to that. Nice. Ow. Ow
You
again.
can take it.
Okay. Good. Be great if we could do that one more time. Ugh. I guess more than one more time. Still gonna have to
Go
do that.
on.
Okay. I wish that he moved back one step further. Alright, good. Because I'd like to get him back out of the way of that air elemental. Come on, take him down. God damn it. Oh, nice, because he hit the thing. Oh, that's cool. That is not cool. Ow.
You can take it.
You can take it as he sits there dying. Sure, he can take it. Oh, crap. Alright, let's go here. Two points, huh? Oh, I didn't do... Man, I was going to do spiritual weapon. Alright. Shoot. That's too bad. Let's get down there. Like right up the ladder. Okay.
Hold on.
Critical hit. Wow. God damn it. Do I even have another? I do have another healing potion. I maybe should have hit it. Oh, that's... What? Oh, god damn it. I didn't... Okay, well, that was a mistake. I didn't realize that was... I guess I should have seen that as, mistakes for me. Let's see. Okay, this seems like a good time to do this.
Thanks.
Okay. Okay, spiritual weapon. Ah! Okay.
Must have hurt.
Good, on both counts. Crap. Jeez, stop. This fight is obnoxious.
Good.
This guys hit like absolute trucks. Okay.
I owe you one.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. I think I'm going to have to take this opportunity attack. I don't want to have to do it, but I'm going to have to. Oh, I could have... Alright, fortunately it didn't matter. I could have disengaged, I guess, but... Okay, switch over. Oh, because... There we go.
Got you.
Okay, good. Wow. Not even moving, Arvin, and still. Yes! Alright, good. Go to hell is right. Expressing how we all feel.
More coming your way.
Okay. Okay, switch over. Want to move into the area so that, if need be, he gets affected by the Spirit Guardians. Good. I don't think I have... Do I have... I know that I have... I didn't have Hunter's Mark on him, my bad. I made a couple of mistakes in this fight, too, that I shouldn't have made, but... Yep. Boy, they really do not like my character. They do not like Arvin. Ow. Okay.
I'm in your debt, my friend.
Okay, let's go with this. Spell's been doing good work, actually. That Sacred Flame has hit quite a bit. Okay. 13 is not great. Not great. Okay. Yes!
Masterful.
Woo! That fight, people, was not easy. Oh my goodness. The MVP there was actually Rilia, who just kept getting people back up again and again and again. Holy cow. What a freaking fight. I don't mind telling you, I did not think that was going to go down that way. I was like, you know what, that's... Whew. It just struck me that I also have all these scrolls that I keep forgetting. saying about using. Oh, man. Anyway, that could have been a lot worse. A lot worse. But it was still pretty rough. I won't lie. Okay. Now we can head back to Caer Kiflin. So, let's quick save that. Let's confirm. Magister's Amulet. Right. Good. Let's fast travel the heck out of here. Whew, that was rough. Did not think I was going to be able to manage that. At a certain point, I was just like, this looks not feasible. But then it ended up working out, so that's what I'm thinking about it.
I owe you one.
One more. Yeah, I guess that's okay for now. Always love me some ranger, some rangering Wookiee. It's my favorite kind of character, actually. Might want to invest in magic weapons later part of the game, as a lot of those guys are worse. Well, yeah, I mean, but part of it too was that I was just sort of taken aback. I mean, I do have some magical weapons, actually. Some of this stuff, though, is stuff that I have to start getting now that I'm finishing some of these quests and I have the money to do more of this. So I do have some magical weapons. That, I mean, the issue really was the resistance, right? And that wasn't a whole lot I could do about that. Let's go. Whew. It's interesting how, as you get more powerful, there are fewer of those encounters because people are just like, I don't want to deal with those people. So... Yeah. Well, probably when I go to Caer Kiflin and turn this stuff in, I can take a look and see about the money situation and kind of go from there. Because one of the reasons I was trying to avoid buying weapons is I was told you could find better weapons than you could buy, so I was trying to avoid some of that, but yeah. It was a challenge, but we pulled it out. I mean, we pulled out both of them. It worked out in the end. Alright, let's turn in some quests, shall we? Let's turn in some quests, let's get some levels, let's get some gold. Let's do it up. Go to the scavengers here. Let's just save it. Okay. We're back in the city. Let's check this out. Okay. All this primed stuff because I don't want to do... Because the problem is I don't want to do crafting, so... Ooh, that's useful. Yes, please do. No one's proficient in that. Okay. Here's the quest board. All right. Relationship improved. All right, we have turned in some of that stuff. Defiler, I'll have to deal with that at a certain moment. Fortress of the Shield, I'm not high enough level for that I want to do that yet. And we've got Apostasy, which I want to deal with, so let's take care of that. About halfway through. Okay. All right, let's save it. All right, let's go to Dalen Lark. All right, what's up? I agree, Define Round. I felt the same way. I think the UI is very good in general.
Clear skies. Yes. Thank you for coming so fast.
It's like 2 weeks later.
Remember that monastery near Koparan?
The Timarian ruins, of course.
Yes. There was a cemetery there. Chaplain Ardenfire, priest of Aaron, would like to meet you about it.
I shall go to him right away. Clear skies.
Clear skies. Einar guard you all.
Talk to the priest of Arun, huh? Wait, where is the priest of Arun? Near the promontory. Rogar. Oh, okay, Rogar. Where? Okay. You have one undiscovered spot? You mean in the city? Do you mean? The heck is the promontory? Is that on this side? Up the stairs and left. Oh, down here? Talk about over here, right? Okay. Yeah, you're right. I never went there. You are correct.
That's
To our eternal heroes. Ah. I see Kickstarter backers. Aha. The priest of Arun, I presume.
Ah, here you are.
Chaplain Dallin Lark told us you'd like to talk.
Many thanks for coming. It's about the Sunblaze Monastery.
We're all ears.
Scavengers said many tombs in the cemetery bore the name of the Darwaz family.
And?
Emton Darwaz ruled this monastery. He was a renowned prelate on Tirmar. The heads of the church searched for him for years. Then he was considered to be lost.
Prelate.
Either left on the homeworld or killed in the cataclysm. Now, we know he was alive. He buried his brothers and family in the Badlands.
A sad tale for sure.
Worse, as this cursed symbol suggests. I prayed for his soul, and Aaron sent me a sign.
A sign?
Chaplain Darwaz's soul never joined Aaron. It is trapped. He might have cursed his own symbol. The souls of his brothers, too, wander somewhere in this land. Someone needs to go and cleanse their remains with holy water.
And by someone, you mean us.
Will that suffice?
Not if Emtan is indeed cursed. His soul is too angry. Then you'll need to reason with him.
Great.
I imbued his symbol with Aaron's magic. Use it as proof.
And if he doesn't listen to reason?
Then, and only then, should you destroy him.
We will do what is necessary.
Hey, what's up,
Aaron's
Kilgore?
fire warm
Yeah, it was at
your
the
home.
beginning. We did the
Clear
beginning of the
skies.
show. It was fun though. It was enjoyable. Emile had a lot of good stuff to talk about. The Temerian ruins, huh? All right. Well, before I do any of that, I've got to go and freaking get some. I got to get some stuff. Got to get some weapons and the like. Packing crap. Is there or packing for a particular reason? Did I miss something, Kilgore? Are you moving? And if the answer is yes, and I should already know that, I apologize. You are? Wow. I did not know that.
Deputies, do you have anything for the circle?
Take a look.
Stay in the light, deputies. Deputies,
Oh, okay.
We do require your services.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say what Lone Wolf said. Like, I hope it's a good thing. Congratulations, hopefully. Ah, longsword +1. Okay. Okay, we're going to sell a bunch of this stuff. Primed mace, primed great axe, primed battle axe. Superb javelin. Oh, renoviction. Oh, I see. Paying you, huh? Paying you to leave. A great sword. But yeah. Yeah, I can't take the two-handed. I need him to have the shield. He needs to be up front and doing that. All right, 842. Oh, really, Mordring? Oh, no kidding, Kilgore. Yeah, packing is no fun, but having just done it. But at least when you're on the other side of it, it sounds like it'll be a good thing. Yeah, it's good to keep in mind, but I think I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing because yeah. Okay. So now Whoops, nope, 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 nope. Okay, I've got chainmail +1 already. That's good. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's definitely rough, though. Okay. Let's sell that. Okay, don't need the mace. And do we have a... We have a mace +1, I wonder. We do have a mace +1. Okay. Let's take care of that. I remember the days when I had the awesome sword that I gave back to Co-Carnage. That was not a fun time. Okay. There we go. Okay, that's helpful, Mordring. Okay. Okay, can I get a longbow +1, I wonder? Right. Okay, so that's +1. Let's see about getting a longbow. Hey, Mrs. Dunsel.
Deputies?
Yeah, it's good to know Mordring for sure.
We do require your services.
Okay. Let's head down to here. What have you got by way of longbows? Longbow +1. 792 gold, huh? It's not going to work. I need something with more money options than that. $792. Yep, Joriel does. Don't need that one. $695. What did I say I needed? Okay. So I need about 80 more. All right. You need Brotherhood to purchase this item? What? Really? No kidding. You need Brotherhood. Man. Well, that's unfortunate. Oops, nope, 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 nope. All right, I'm going to have to wait on that longbow then. That is too bad, though, because... Okay. All right, so we'll have to think about that. But for right now, we've got Path to Glory, we got that, we got that. Okay, so when we next play this, chat, I'm going to have to decide... Because right now I'm level 7, which means I'm a little high, I'm a little low for this level 8 stuff. The Silent Whisper base, that's another thing that I could find. And I might actually do that. So there's that. Razan, that's going to be, I think, probably not easy. So really, what I should think about doing is doing, like, Bitterroot, Apostasy, and then do Path to Glory. Yeah, I know, I feel the same way. I feel the same way, Dragon, because... But I did get a +1 longsword now, and I have done some of those things, so... Although, what do I have to... Find the silent... I wonder if there's any more details about that that are available. Find the Silent Whisper base. So we have no idea where that is what we're saying. Yeah, I don't like losing some of the other options, though, on the short bow. I'm not that worried about it yet. I think that we're starting to get +1 weapons now that will allow me to do some of these other things. So I think it's okay. What I am uncertain about, though, is whether I should... Don't know whether I should go here. Don't remember how to get to the world map. Yeah. I'm playing around with the idea of maybe going and dealing with the main quest stuff before leaving Caer Kiflin again. But then I'm also thinking that I want to do some of those things. I don't know whether this is just something I'm going to find as I go along, in which case I should do this one, Apostasy, and, you know, take that out of the way and then go back to the treasure map. That might make more sense. So I'm thinking I might do something like that. We check with this person, then go to the entrance.
The law provides, adventurers.
Law preserve us.
Indeed it does.
The owl watch over you, faithful one.
We do require your services.
Ring of O, proficiency in all languages. Nice. Living legend. Hell yes. I am indeed a living legend. I'm tempted to do that, but I want to save this money for when I have to get the longbow. Okay, never mind. So, alright. What we're going to do is we're going to go back here. Doing all the side quests? Okay. Well, I mean... That's partly what that's sort of what I was planning on doing. I mean, the runs in the family one, I want to wait till I get to level 8 for that if I can. The Razan thing, I wish I knew what level quest that is. And Bitterroot's treasure map, I wish I knew more details. So what I'm tempted to do is do Apostasy. Then try to figure out if I want to do this treasure map thing. If I can get to level 8, do the fort. And I know it's just a recommendation, but still, I'd like to be somewhere in the ballpark of that. Then do the runs in the family. And or maybe Shadow with the Defiler, and then come back and do Path to Glory. That's good to know, though, that I should do the side quest first, because that would be the case. Living Ledger. Living Ledger. Right. So. There we go. Cool. All right. Quick saved and saved in that other spot. Yeah, I do have those things. So, okay, that's good to know. Well, then maybe what I'll do is... I'll do Apostasy and then do Shadow with a Defiler. Do those two. If that gets me high enough level that I can then do Runs in the Family, I do that. Try to figure out with this Bitterroots treasure map and then head back over to Path of Glory. So that is what we will plan to do. But not, I believe, right now. Because the time has come for us to bring this session to a close. But this was awesome. I actually really enjoyed this. Okay. Working on updates. Don't turn off your computer. Just hang on. Hold tight. You can do it. Do I switch off of this yet? Do I dare? Yeah, I dare. We're going to do that. Thank you, Define Round. I appreciate it. Awesome. I'm excited for it. Thank you very much, Define Round. Thank you. And, hang on a second. For some reason, my thing is not... There we go. For a minute there, my keyboard switcher was not working over, but now it's going well. Anyway, thank you, everybody, for the kind words, and thank you for being here for the stream, and thank you especially to Emile Zhang from Tactical Adventures for hanging out with us while we played some Solasta. This was great. I am very excited for further adventures. If you liked what you saw and heard, I will mention that I'm going to be back here next Tuesday with some, I believe we've got D&D with GOG, Ghosts of Saltmarsh, although now I actually need to double check and make sure that that's the case. Let me just make sure, because it may be the case that I ended up switching that. So bear with me 1 second. No. So next week, I do have one more Solasta, because there's 5 Tuesdays. I forgot. 5 Tuesdays in November. So I do have one more Solasta coming next Tuesday, so I'll be playing more of this next week. And then the week after that, I've got D&D with GOG Ghosts of Saltmarsh, and the week after that, Talisman Adventures. So I'm going to be back on my own channel on Friday with some Esper Genesis, my space opera game. If you like tabletop play, and I assume if you like Solasta, you may like it a little bit, you'll want to stop by to check that out. And then on Saturday, I have some D&D with my Infinity and Beyond crew. It's my longest running group of players, and they are going to be playing some Eberron as we continue with a massive level 1 to level 20 campaign. So I'm excited about that. So hopefully you can stop by with some of those things, because I would love to see any or all of you there. But that is going to do it for me for today. And it's also going to wrap us up for GOG.com's Twitch channel today. We're going to be back tomorrow morning, I believe, or early afternoon anyway, with some Lore Witchy, who's going to be playing some Eastward. So you'll definitely want to stop by for that. Otherwise, I will be back here next Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern with Pen and Pixels episode 302, playing some Solasta. And I'll be on my own channel, as I said, Friday with some Esper Genesis. You'll want to stop by for that. Also, please follow us here on GOG.com. Please sub to us here on GOG.com's channel. And please consider as well clicking through to our own individual channels, because we have our own subsystems and, Patreons and all that kind of good stuff, which is also a big part of how we do what we do. So please consider supporting us either way. Otherwise, thank you all for being such a wonderful audience as always, and for the interesting questions. I hope you enjoyed it. And thank you one last time to the powers that be at GOG.com, including Pyron Jade, for making this interview happen. And thank you to Emile Zhang and the rest of Tactical Adventures for making it possible to do that. Much love to all. Thanks, everybody. And I will catch all of you wonderful people soon. Until then, everyone be good to each other. Have a good night.